This is the face of someone whose team continues to be disrespected. This offseason has opened up dozens of storylines across the NHL, but none, and I mean none, feel as bizarre as the one that's playing out in Washington, D.C. Despite having an incredible season where the Capitals overachieved by a wide margin, and don't forget also saw their greatest franchise icon surpass a legend to become the NHL's all-time goal leader, somehow the narrative for the Washington Capitals isn't praise or momentum like they probably deserve. It's more skepticism and disbelief. So why does no one believe in the Washington Capitals? Is it because they wasted all their energy chasing Ovi's individual record? Or perhaps it's because they fizzled out in the playoffs just a bit too early. Whatever way you look at it, whether you're a supporter of this team or if you're not quite ready to buy into their success, the Capitals are considered underdogs in their division once again and will have to prove themselves. But today I'm going to explain why you shouldn't be buying into these negative narratives and why the Washington Capitals are way better than you think. Plus 3,000, 13th best odds to win the Stanley Cup. That feels a bit wild for a team that finished second in the division last year, but anyways, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. As you can tell by now, we are doing a deep dive into the Washington Capitals and their upcoming season. The reason I'm making this video, I've seen a lot of predictions for the Metro Division and just people talking about the Capitals in general. And I feel like for some reason, they are just not getting the respect that they deserve after putting up some pretty stellar numbers last year. Now, there's a lot of reasons for this and a lot of reasons why you shouldn't be buying into these negative things. And I'm here to explain it all for you today in a very simple format. So if you're enjoying the content lately and want to see more stuff like this, be sure to give this one a thumbs up and subscribe now. And let's get right into today's breakdown. All right, real quickly, let's recap just very shortly what happened to the Capitals last season. I've heard you guys. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. I'll spend more time on the actual season that's up and coming. But coming into last season, the Washington Capitals made significant upgrades to a team that in many ways fluked their way into the postseason just a year prior and were knocked out in a sweep by the New York Rangers. They added Logan Thompson in net, traded Darcy Kemper for Pierre-Luc Dubois, and started to feature their younger players just to give their lineup a bit more juice. And for the most part, I would say a lot of these upgrades paid off. Washington wrapped up the 2024-25 regular season with the most points in the Eastern Conference, and a dominant record of 51-22-9. Unfortunately, though, their unexpected Cinderella run would come to an abrupt ending in round 2 of the playoffs at the hands of the Carolina Hurricanes. Now, with largely the same roster coming back next season and Alex Ovechkin's record in the past, you would think that a lot more people would be buying into the Capitals and having them atop their division yet again, but for some reason, the narratives surrounding this team have been the complete opposite. Fans and analysts all have this team finishing 3rd or 4th in their division behind teams who, let's face it, don't have as much composure or consistency that the Caps have had at least through last season. What? Some of you might find it silly, but chasing something as monumental as passing Wayne Gretzky in all-time goals can be a bit of a momentum booster, not just for the individual actually chasing the record, but for his teammates and a lot of other people in this league. And in this case, I think that the Capitals' success was largely not dependent on that record, but I do think it motivated a lot of the players to, maybe push harder in regular season games as opposed to other years where there wasn't something so monumental on the line. Unfortunately, though, there really is no way to determine if this was an X factor for the team or just simply something that they played for on the side. I would be remiss to not mention it, which is why I'm bringing it up in this conversation, but I believe that when you put up such a strong record, finish as the top team in the Eastern Conference, and do exactly what the Caps did last season, that there's obviously some talent and skill coaching behind all of that, and not just a record that should get all of the credit. So with that out of the way, let's talk about other things that were involved with the Capitals' success, and one thing in particular that stands out to me was their offense and some of the statistical categories that they thrived in last year. To my surprise, the Capitals' offense evolved to a level few thought was possible last season, leaving us with the question of, was it a fluke or a trend upwards for this team? When you look at the numbers, though, I don't think it's a fluke at all. The Capitals ranked among the league's most efficient offenses last year, averaging 3.49 goals per game, which was the second highest in the NHL. Much of that scoring came at 5-on-5, where they were second in goals for per 60 minutes, and their power play was also solid. Nothing spectacular. They hovered around the middle of the league with a conversion rate of 23.5%, but I think having better 5-on-5 offense versus power play is definitely something that's more transferable to the playoffs, which is why a lot of people were buying into the Capitals going into the postseason. But what really stands out was their underlying totals when it came to high shooting percentages. A lot of their players had personal best and league-leading shooting percentages throughout most of the year. Now, does this mean that every player on this team is automatically going to regress in 5v5 play, their power play, and their shooting percentage? Not necessarily, but I would say some of the depth guys who had career years, you could probably expect some form of regression. Maybe guys like Dylan Strome and Protas will still put up those really great numbers, but maybe some of the other guys are the ones that you have to keep an eye on for not really going that extra mile. That's usually how it goes from season to season. But to add to their offense, there's a few specific players that I think are going to play big roles this year for the Capitals that I want to mention here. The first is Ryan Leonard. His arrival gave Washington's lineup a huge jolt last year at the end of the season, and we only got a small glimpse of him playing last year, 9 regular season games and 8 playoff games, but I think for Washington to take that next step, young players like Leonard will have to be efficient, especially with there always being the potential of regression from older players in this lineup. Another name to keep an eye on is Anthony Beauvillier. I felt last season he fit perfectly with Ovi and Strome. However, is he the right guy to have on the top line all season long, or will he fall off enough to have this hurt the Capitals' offense in the long run? To me, really, this whole season should be about replicating last year. I think the Caps need to play well during 5v5 this season and try to do exactly what they did in that department, and also try to expand on their power play a little bit. Don't expect your players to have high shooting percentages. Expect to have to grind it out and use some of the other parts of your team, like your goaltending, which is the next thing we're going to get into. Now, I'm not sure if there was a single person out there who expected the Washington Capitals to have such strong and consistent goaltending last year, but in hindsight, we probably should have. Logan Thompson, in particular, is an interesting guy to keep an eye on because while some might be expecting him to come down from that awesome season, I actually feel like he's ready to put up even better numbers. Sure, Washington's defense isn't the most special group, but they are consistent. They have size and they play very physical, which is the perfect style that I feel like Thompson thrives under. People forget in his short NHL career so far, Thompson has consistently put up really good stats. And last year, being with Washington and taking on the responsibility as a full-time starter, or at least the 1A starter in a tandem, maybe is a better way to put it, he improved in a lot of areas where he came up short in Vegas. As a tandem with Lindgren, I think that this is one of the better models in the NHL right now, and I expect it to work for the next few years with the team wisely locking down both guys for the foreseeable future. Is Logan Thompson, Connor Hellebuyck, or Igor Shesterkin? I don't believe so, but I think he's a very serviceable starter in this league, and actually a lot better than that. I think I'm discrediting him by saying that. If you put him in the right situation with Lindgren, tandem him, don't overdo it on the starts. I think he's a much better option than Darcy Kemper, who they had just about a year or two ago. And we got to give Darcy his flowers, though. He was nominated for a Vezina this year, but I think systematically, Logan Thompson is the perfect guy for them. And with him and Lindgren in net, I think that this is going to be a huge strength for the Washington Capitals. And they will have to maybe lean on that a bit more this season, with their offense probably regressing in a few ways. And arguably the biggest reason why the Capitals deserve more respect than they're getting this offseason is their coaching. And for some reason, it's gone so under the radar this year, but what Spencer Carberry has done to this organization is just honestly incredible. Since joining the Caps, Carberry has turned them into one of the more energetic and efficient teams across the league. Entering his third season, there is naturally going to be some regression. Obviously, we've talked about that. However, I don't doubt for a single second that he's going to find a way to get this group into the postseason and basically replicate what they did last year by improving on their deficiencies, even if there's other categories that fall off. Carberry rightfully won Coach of the Year last season and will be one of the biggest factors with this team. And really what I'm most interested in seeing from him is how he's going to develop the younger players this year, because I don't think we've gotten to see Carberry in that category yet, with this roster typically being older on average. So why are people doubting the Washington Capitals? Is it justified? I would say no. I think many people are jaded by the Ovechkin record still, and for some reason feel it played an even bigger role than it probably did last year in the team's overall success. Was it a motivation? Of course, but again, it's not something that I think drives that efficient of an offense and how just productive they were on a night in, night out basis. Yes, it will make them play a little bit harder, but not enough to really get all of those guys to have career highs in points, goals, and whatever else category it might have been. But it's not just about what I think. I want to hear from you guys. Do you think that the Washington Capitals deserve to be disrespected like this and to have all of these negative narratives? Or do you think that this team is going to overachieve a lot next season and surprise a lot of us? Let me know what you think in the comments below as always. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe now. Also mention what other teams you want to deep dive on next. I usually don't ask you guys that, but there are 32 teams out there, and I feel like there are some that maybe I'm missing every now and then, so drop that in the comments below as well. Thank you guys as always for watching these videos. I got a few other pieces for you to check out right here on the screen if you're bored and want to watch some more of my content. And again, I will see you guys in the next upload.